this mind of Maitri, of Metta Bhavana, by suffusing all directions, by being in that space, you can feel it and you're happy here and now because you're only wishing well for other beings. This is true wealth. This is what really can stay with you.
Good evening, dear ladies and gentlemen. We would like to welcome you to join the 529th Dhamma sermon of the monthly Dhamma sermon series organized by the Bank of Ceylon Buddhist Association. This program will be broadcasted live to our branch network via TV DOC channel, ensuring wider accessibility. The Bank of Ceylon's Information Technology Division has made a major contribution to this Dhamma sermon. On behalf of the Bank of Ceylon Buddhist Association, we extend our warm welcome to Most Venerable Bhante Ānanda Thero for presence for this program. We are grateful for accepting our invitation and wish to express our appreciation for your participation. I would like to share a short introduction about Most Venerable Bhante Ānanda Thero. Ānanda Thero, born in Quebec, Canada, and currently based in Hartwood, Arabia, in British Columbia, Canada. Ānanda Thero has received training in teaching and way of life in Buddhist philosophy. His long-time aspiration was fulfilled when Ānanda Thero received Upasampada, means full bhikkhu ordination, in the Galduva Sri Kalyani Yogashrama tradition, under the guidance of Most Venerable Puññānumodanā Mahathero and the Venerable Velaboda Ānanda Thero in Balangoda, Sri Lanka. Ānanda Thero now divides his time between Sri Lanka, Canada, India, Australia, and various other locations around the world. Ānanda Thero specializes in teaching the development of mental correctness and guiding practitioners through meditation by uplifting the mind and relaxing bodily tension. On this occasion, I respectfully call Mr. Buddhika Seelaratna, Chief Information Officer of the Bank of Ceylon, to invite Ānanda Thero for the Dhamma sermon.
And so I'm not sure if it is tradition for you here to begin with the Panchasil or okay. So maybe we can start with that, and so do the namaskar. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Pāṭipāta Vairamani Sikkhapadang Samādhiyami. Adinādāna Vairamani Sikkhapadang Samādhiyami. Kāmesu Miccaccāra Vairamani Sikkhapadang Samādhiyami. Musāvāda Vairamani Sikkhapadang Samādhiyami. Surameraya Majjapamadattana Vairamani Sikkhapadang Samādhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right. Om Apin. And so since we are all gathered here at the bank, now I'm speaking of intelligent people that know about certain principles of economy and of transactions and banking. And I think there's a lot of similarities in the basic principles of life and the Buddha's teaching and happiness to be drawn from this. There's this one principle to live a normal life in terms of economy that is kind of behind everything. Would anybody want to venture and think about, say what that principle would be like? What's the number one financial rule to have a good life? At least a good life, a regular life. So if we spend more than we gain, what happens? We have to borrow money. We start to have debt. And so in the long run, that's not very sustainable, technically, is it? I'm sure you're familiar with that principle. And so the expenditure must be lower than the income, right? At least, at the very bare level, the very ground level, there should be more income than there is outgoing flow of money. And like this, I think this is, of course, on the mundane level, but we can also draw parallels with the mind, with the way that we behave with our minds. And so there's these two mental states that the Buddha taught, the difference between two very clear different mental states. On one side we have the negative states, and on the other side we have the positive states. So in good Pali and Sinhala there's the kusala Dhamma and there's the akusala Dhamma. Yes. Kusala Chitta, akusala Chitta. And one is like cashing in. One is good. One is actually beneficial for us. It keeps us thriving. Those are uplifting, cleansing, wholesome mental states that benefit everybody. And there is the opposite. Then there's the negative states, the akusala dhammas, which actually drain our lives, drain our vitality. They can also drain our bank accounts, but that's another story. And I think one of the most beautiful thing that the Buddha taught was to learn more about these two different qualities of the mind. And I'm just curious, did we have time to distribute the bookmarks? Where's Naveen? Ah, yes. Did you have time? No. They are? Okay, good. So everybody has the bookmark? So everybody's ready. Okay, good. So just so I know. Very good. And so does anybody have any idea what this these skillful mind states are? These kusala dhamma, kusala citta. What would be examples of that? You'll notice my talks are a bit more interactive. I know this is maybe not something you're familiar with, but this is the way that I do things. So, there's four very special states that are called Brahma Viharas. Somebody can name the first one? Metta. Very good. Very good. Another one? Karuna. Mudita. Yes. And Upekkha. Very good. So these are pretty wholesome, very beneficial. The Buddha said that just cultivating metta bhavana for the time of a finger snap was worth more than offering even food to a Buddha. So that's how important it is. And so this is not to be taken lightly. And so all of these Brahma Viharas, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha, they are like cash flow into our life. And they come and make our life very abundant, benevolent, and beneficial to all living beings. Are you familiar with a sutta that is called Cakkavatti Sihanada? Sihanada. You're Sinhala people. You should know this. In this end discourse in the Digha Nikaya, the Buddha explains what is wealth for a monk, what is wealth for a bhikkhu and bhikkhunis. And he explains that wealth for us, wealth for bhikkhus, is actually this metta bhavana. To feel that loving kindness in all directions, suffusing each direction. And why is that? How is that wealth? Sri Lanka has been through a very challenging past few years. It has seen a lot of turmoil recently, and it's climbing back up the hill. It's very beautiful to see. I came here 2.5 years ago, and I went to the jungle, and I was practicing close to the forest in Balanguda, and the crisis was going on, and I could see all the upheaval and all the things that were happening here. And yet Sri Lankans were very, very, very good through the whole proceedings. But I think this was a very good lesson also for all of us, even for me as an outside player in this. That, these causes and conditions in life, they go up and they go down. The economy goes up, the economy goes down. We don't really know when that's going to happen. We don't really want it to happen. It's not something that we desire. Of course, it's not. But it does happen. And so when that kind of wealth goes up and down? Is it how if we were to invest everything that we have in life into that, wouldn't that put ourselves in a bit at risk? Yeah, and I think we had a good example of that. But this kusala citta, this mind of maitri, of metta bhavana, here and now, by suffusing all directions, by being in that space, you can feel it, and you're happy here and now, because you're only wishing well for other beings. This is true wealth. This is what really can stay with you. And I think Sri Lankans have displayed that very beautifully, because through the crisis, from what I saw anyways, Sri Lankans remain very, very patient. Well, of course there's different views on this, but from what I saw, even through all the pressure and all this, there was still a lot of loving kindness. There was still a lot of patience, and that was really, truly remarkable to see. For me, where I was, I would go for alms, and it was small village and usually poor village. And not much changed, to be honest, in these areas, because people were, okay, they're going to cook with fire. They already, they were almost doing it anyways, so it wasn't that much of a big issue for them. But always very positive, always remaining in that loving kindness, remaining in that mind of generosity, of chaga. And when we are in that space, there's not a whole lot of selfishness, there's not a whole lot of heaviness inside. And whatever the outside conditions will be, it's fine, it's okay. And I saw so many beautiful examples of that during that time. That people that, lost a lot of things, but still, they were not that shaken. They were okay. Because inside their hearts, they were okay. And I think that's also the wealth of Sri Lanka. That's what I think. Where I'm from, it's very difficult to encounter the Buddha's teaching. It's not given to everybody. Like I was saying earlier, for most of my life, I was looking for something which I couldn't find in the West, in Canada. And even though so many Sri Lankans want to go to Canada, so many Sri Lankans want to go to the West, you have so much here, actually. It's different, but just to have this beautiful culture, that loving culture, that peaceful culture, just seeing the kids, how the kids are raised up here in Sri Lanka, and how beautiful their hearts are from the sila, from getting this teaching so early. I mean, nothing is perfect, of course, but this is your wealth here also in Sri Lanka, which there's not a lot of countries out there that have that. And so I think it's really important for all Sri Lankans to remember that, to remember how beautiful that is and how precious. And so when we try to, do anything in life, whether it's work, whether it's your life at home, there's always this one thing that's behind everything, is your heart, your mind. And the state of your heart and the state of your mind is really what's going to dictate how proficient you are at your work, how your relationships, how healthy your relationships are, your life at home, how your relationships are with your family, your wife, your children, everything, and at work also. And so when we know how the mind works and how the heart works, then we can be efficient at everything. And we can work happily, we can live happily at work, anything that we're doing. And my teacher, who's a very wonderful being, always put a lot of emphasis on a sequence that I think is one of the most beautiful gathas of the whole Tripitaka. And this is the gatha that is found on your bookmark. This is Sukhino Cittam Samādhiyati. And whenever I go in, I teach I teach retreats, meditation retreats in different places, different countries. And this is the one gatha, this is the one verse that I actually base all of my teachings from, of course, from my teacher also. And it summarizes really the goal, the essence of what we're doing. And it's important to remember that meditation, like sitting meditation, and whatever we do with our minds every day, every second of our life, it's the same thing. So bhavana is bhavana. Whether you're sitting, whether you're standing, whether you're working, whether you're at home, bhavana is about letting go of unwholesome mental states which are heavy, like anger, anxiety, jealousy, hatred. Letting go of that, that's never going to be good for you. Remember that. There's no any part of jealousy that is going to serve you in the long run. There's no any part of anger that will be beneficial to your life. Anger is never going to be beneficial. There's no point of anxiety that will help you deal with problems at work or at home. These things are just there to actually fog the lens. They actually distort our perception. But when we let go of those, we can feel them as tensed, coarse emotions in our body. And we just relax, take a deep breath. Just let it go. Remember, this is not going to help you anyways. If somebody says something you don't like at work, at you, and you get angry, what is it going to change? Is it going to make the situation better? Probably not. And so, instead of that, we can actually change. We can actually do the alchemy of the mind, that I like to call it. And so, we take a moment, relax. Feel that in your body. How does it feel? Then once you connect with how it feels in your body, you'll see it feels terrible. Anger feels terrible. Jealousy feels terrible. Anxiety feels not good. Just relax. Take a deep breath. Let it go. And then the alchemy is, what if you were to bring up a wholesome state? What if you were to bring up compassion for that person? That person is actually having a lot of stress right now, and they're yelling at me, for example. I should be compassionate towards them. And this is likely to help you, in fact, quite a lot. What about, oh, this person got a promotion. It could have been you, but they got it. Great. Let them have it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. This Unwholesome, rejoicing in other people's gain, in other people's happiness. And so when we start to see life like this, we can change any situation to uplift our minds. And so this gatha goes, Tasime panche nivarane pahine samanupassato. So when we see that these nivaranas, the 5 nivaranas, are let go in the mind. Whatever it is, we feel that pamoja jayati. Pamoja arises, that relief, that gladness. It feels good on the spot. When we feel anger, we let it go. It feels good, it feels relieving. Pamoja jayati. Pamuditassa piti jayati. With that relief, with that gladness, there's joy. If we continue on that road, then there is continuity of gladness, of relief, is this beautiful priti, joy. Piti manassa kayo pasambati. And now one of the wonderful things about joy and gladness is that it helps us calm down also. Find some ease in the body. So, piti manassa kayo pasambati. The body becomes calm. And then pasadda kayo sukhang vadayati. And when the body becomes calm, one experiences sukha, happiness, ease. And Sukhino Cittam Samādhiyati. And this is what is written on your bookmark here. And I think this is one of the most important gathas that the Buddha taught. By cultivating these wholesome states constantly, the body becomes calm, the mind becomes collected. And when it is collected, it is happy, it is present. It is at its full potential. And whatever comes up, whether it's pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations, your mind isn't shaken. It's not shaken, it remains in that beautiful clarity of mind. And so this is just a wonderful tool to remember that everything that we do in life, at work, when offering Buddha Puja, when offering flowers, when offering anything, when practicing our generosity, what matters is not the flowers, what matters is not the dani, what matters is how do you feel? How does that make you feel? Do you feel uplifted? Do you do it from the heart? Do you actually happily give? That's where all the punya is. May okkama punya tiyanawa. That's where all the punya resides, in your heart. If you just do it ritually, without any kind of upliftment, then it's dry. It doesn't mean much. But if you do everything in your life like it's an offering, when you go to work, you go there to actually help. You're going to go there to help your colleagues. You're going to go there to serve as much as you can, and help out. And see the shift in your life, see the difference in your life when that happens. When you do everything from your heart, from mettā. Whatever you do at your work, it's always an object for you to be glad about, hey, I did a good job. You go back home and you say, I think I did everything that I could today to actually be helpful. And look at your mind, look at your heart, how beautiful, how bright it will be, how happy. And see, I was hearing the story of how these Dharmadeshanas came to be here at the Bank of Ceylon, and it was quite uplifting, quite beautiful to hear that for the past, 45 years, every month there's been a Dhamma talk here. And so this is very special. You know, where I'm from, these kinds of things don't happen that much. And so this is so uplifting at the same time, where you can have some time here all together in this organization to share in the Dhamma and to be glad about the Dhamma, to rejoice in this beautiful teaching. And so when we start to see life in that perspective, then everything becomes the path. Everything becomes marga. Everything becomes Dhamma. And the difference is just in our minds, in our hearts. So there's no real barriers here. Everybody here and now, can experience this. There's nothing stopping you. And it starts only with saddha, with devotion. And to really find gladness and find happiness in giving the best of you, in giving the best in your life, in your relationships. And rejoicing and practicing also this beautiful, beautiful sequence that I just mentioned. And one of the special tricks, one of the secrets to this, and this was from my teacher. My teacher would always make a lot of emphasis on this very specific secret teaching. That is to smile. And smile all the time. On meditation retreats, we would be told, you have to smile. This is an all-time smiling practice. And at the beginning, people find it really strange, and how does it have to do with anything? But we notice on retreat that after a few days, people really start to pick up on that joy. And I was just giving another discourse at the Faculty of Medicine because it was touching on the subject of their own researches too. There's been some scientific researches done to prove this, that in fact this is called the facial feedback hypothesis. So that when we are happy and then we smile, some people said, well, what if we were to just smile? Would that trigger the same neural pathways in our brains as if we were happy, even though we're not necessarily happy on the moment? And so they made some researches, and they found a way to bring up a very mechanic smile in people in one group. So they put a pen in their mouth. And so they just like had this very, very mechanical smile, very fake smile. Can't get more fake. You have just a pen in your mouth. And then they would ask people to interpret how some people were moving. And the people that had the pen in their mouth with the smile, the fake smile, that was triggering the same muscles as a genuine smile, they saw life in a much happier, much more uplifted lens, in a much more uplifted perspective. And my teacher somehow, he just tapped into this kind of knowledge, and he would always make us smile and smile and smile. And sure enough, after a few days on retreat, we really see a big difference. And so the people that at the beginning were really forcing it, because we call it the fake it until you make it approach. And after a few days, something changes, and they start to really just be happy and beam with happiness. And the smile becomes very natural for them. And so this is like a very easy and quick cheat that you can apply in your life and at work. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything to smile. And you'll be surprised at how other people react to this. A lot of people are surprised when they leave our retreats because they start to smile a lot more, and they start to notice that people smile back at them a lot more too. And so that is when you start noticing, isn't that interesting? And life basically also is an echo, is a feedback loop. So whatever you put out into the world, this is the law of karma. This is how it works. So whatever we put out into the universe, it comes back to us. And this is a really wonderful exercise for you. That would be my homework, actually. Maybe you can start smiling, maybe a few more minutes each day. And see the impact that it has on your life and on your mind. Because when my teacher also said, the fastest way to let go of an attachment, of letting go of anything that is bugging us, is to laugh, to smile. Because there and then we stop taking things so personally. We get so caught up in that storyline. Oh, they did that, and I should have said that, and why did they say this, and all this time and this other time, and it just keeps churning it in our mind. We don't notice it, but actually this is actually not pleasant. And we are only one step away from happiness, from gladness. We just have to let it go. It's not personal. Things happen in life. Some people, they have a bad day. No need to make a big deal of it in your mind. And so stay light, laugh. Maybe not laugh at that person, but of course you know what I mean. Be kind. That person is having a hard time. Send them compassion. Send them a beautiful light smile. It's okay. And you'll see, you won't be feeding the fire anymore. And things will just cool off much easier. And so more and more, trying to bring these beautiful mental states into your day-to-day life. And once your heart is happy, once your heart is free, once your mind is free and happy, you have unlimited wealth. Because what are people after wealth for? Why do we want to be wealthy? Well, actually, that's a bad question. What does every single living being wants? We all want to be happy. Everybody. Every single living being on this planet. Wealth is one expression of that. But wealth comes and goes. Now, when you are happy inside, when you have only wholesome states, you are always wealthy. You always have that inner wealth. You have so much, it's so abundant, you can share it with everyone around you. Chaga. You can give it away. That's how wealth works. That's how inner wealth works. And then it comes back to you. You live in abundance. You create an ecosystem of abundance in your life, in your family. And so, however much the wealth is, however much material things are, all we're only looking for in life is to be happy. And so, when we're happy inside, everything is good. And so you can manage your life in the way that you want. You can build up your wealth if you want, but you'll be happy inside anyways. So it doesn't matter if it goes up or it goes down. And that's for your own best interest, for your own good. And so keep doing everything that you're doing to the best of your ability, and keep investing in that heart bank. In that smile bank. And so what's your homework? To smile. Yes. Smile a little bit more every day. Yes, good. I see it's already going. It's already happening. Very good. You've been listening, so that's a very good sign. I was very lucky because when I first came to Sri Lanka, actually it was just after one of the waves of COVID, and everything was, I was trying to get here, and everything was kind of locked down, and for a very small window of time, all the roads where I lived in Western Canada around the Hermitage where I am, they were all closed because there was a torrential rain going, and the only road that was open was the road to the airport, for me to go to the airport. And so fortunately I was able to make it, even though it was COVID and there was torrential rains. The one road that was open in the province was the road I needed to take. And luckily I made it to Sri Lanka, and then I got here, and then I think it was the third wave of COVID hit, and then everything shut down again, and I was happily stuck here because you have a beautiful country and I really love it. You know, living in the West as a monk is not always easy. I spent 2 years living by myself as a forest monk in Canada, and it was a wonderful experience. But just for you to imagine how lucky you are is that you know, where I'm from, there's no monks walking down the streets. You know, this is something you can't see in Canada, that's for sure. And so, unless you really go to a monastery, and there's not many of them, there's, you know, a handful. And so for me, I kind of wanted to help, you know, the Canada, my own country, to have this a little bit more accessible. But it's really not easy. And you know, walking down for Pindapata, because I would go with my bowl and walk downtown and go for alms and Pindapata. And it was a really long walk down the mountain. I would come down from the retreat center, and after a couple of hours of walking, and then people would just thought that you know, I was carrying a drum. They thought my bowl, my patraya, was a drum. And so they would ask me like, oh, when are you playing tonight? And so that was, I had the amazing chance in a way to have these really special encounters of, you know, it's just really unusual to see a monk. Somebody telling me, you know, a young man also telling me, oh bro, I love your costume, and like trying to fist pump me kind of thing. And so yeah, most people thought I was wearing a costume, to be honest. Yeah, so that's how it is really in the West in many places. Buddhism is gaining a little bit of interest, I think a little bit more traction nowadays, because the Buddha's teaching is it makes sense, it's reasonable, and you can understand it. And so it's not just about blind faith, and that really touches a lot of Western minds, I think, the scientific approach. And Buddha was this scientific of the mind, you know, he knew the science of the mind. So, but you know, these occasions of being able to visit, you know, aranyas, monastery, talk to monks, talk to the sangha, just be in that place. I'm staying at Vajirarama right now, and this place is so has been doing so many merits over the years, and with all the good practice, the monks, the upasaka, the upasikas coming to serve there, I can just feel it, you know. If I'm just there, there's a very special feeling. You can feel the metta. You can feel the metta that's been happening there for years and years and years. And I have this feeling with Sri Lanka also. There's very few places like Sri Lanka, to be honest, where you can feel that. You can really feel that deep devotion, that deep goodness, that punya has been made here for a long time. And you know, this is so precious. I think it's something that you should all, you should all first not take for granted, for sure, but also really appreciate, have this gratitude for. Because for me, it took me almost 30 years to find this, and I really couldn't find it until almost like a miracle. And so I think that when I see the Sri Lankan culture, when I see what's how people live here and how people maintain this beautiful teaching, it makes me so happy, because this is so precious. There's only just a few countries that maintain that. And I think, first of all, I'm really grateful that all of Sri Lankans and their ancestors have maintained this, because just to know that all of Sri Lanka was offered to the Sangha like a few times even, isn't that amazing? Like nobody would do that ever, like everywhere else. Just to let you know, that doesn't happen in the world. That this kind of generosity is displayed, or this act of goodness. So, yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do we understand our mind status? Sometimes, because when we are angry, when we are jealous, when we are in some other kind of a status of mind, how do we understand that? What kind of practice that we need to do to understand that kind of mind status?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very important, because otherwise we don't know we are. Because to smile, sometimes we can't do it, or we cannot actually smile from our heart. We don't understand our state of mind, the kind of situation, or our current status.
Yes. So there's this is a vast topic, but I would say if for one thing is very important is awareness of the body. So kayagata sati. Once we develop this relationship with the body, nama rupa are together. When they arise together. And so when we have akusala dhamma arising, like anger, anxiety, whatever it is, just develop this relationship with your body and feel how that feels inside your body. You'll be able to tell what it is. Just from that practice, you'll be able to tell if it's an unwholesome state or whatever it is. Because when you feel anxious, when you feel anger, when you feel any of the unwholesome states, it doesn't feel good in the body. And so in this way, you can tell what kind of wholesome or unwholesome state it is. If you try to analyze it too much, then actually that becomes restlessness. And this is a very, very common thing right now. That is, I think it's being propagated by the Western mindset. That is to always think and think more about thinking and thinking and thinking. But actually the Buddha was showing the way to break free from that cycle, in fact. And the Buddha's teaching is very profound, and yet in so many ways so simple. That's why it's so brilliant. I think that's the genius actually of this teaching, is that it's simple, yet it goes the deepest. There's ways in which we can make it very complicated if we want, but why?
Could be more simple than what we've done, right?
Yes, of course. I know in Sri Lanka it's different. Yes, I know. So I'm trying to explain the best, I guess, of how I would see it. But for me, because I got through this teaching by meditation, and meditation has always been the leading head of my practice. And so, and the more I practice, the more I go forward on this path. I notice that the simpler truths go the deepest, because you can't bring too much. past a certain level. You can't, you know, it's not meant to be a mental exercise. It needs to be lived, needs to be applied. And so I think awareness of the body would always tell you whether you need to relax the body or whether you're holding on to something. And just that is enough for you to let go. Just that knowledge is, and that's the Four Noble Truths, the four Arya Satchas. So at the same time.
You born in a Western country.
Yes.
And living with every precious things.
Yes.
What made you become a monk?
Ah, yes. What made me become a monk? Okay, yes. That question. Yeah, I know that question. I mean, this is a long story. This could be a series of talks, but if I go to the core of it, I would say that meditation changed my life radically, very radically. Like I said, I was feeling like I was looking for something in my life, all my life. And I couldn't find it, and all I was trying was these different activities, these different sports, these different entertainments or whatever it is, and I went really far into each of them. I would bring them, you know, very far and all that. But then I just, every time I felt like, no, this is not it. This is not lasting. This is not satisfying. You know, this is not. It's always more. There's always more, and the more you have, the more you want. And so it's like, where does it end? Well, it doesn't. But when you don't know what will give you lasting happiness, it feels like you're in the desert. It feels like you don't know where to go. Where do you go? You don't know. There's nothing. So you keep trying and you keep trying. And when you do these things for a very long time, very intensely, sometimes you can become very dry inside. You can be left like, you know, what's the point of all of this? And then there can be a shift. Like sometimes there will be a spiritual shift where, okay, I need to find answers somewhere. So you start being interested in spirituality and other things. That's how I started. And I was really interested in yoga and all these things. And you know, I read the Bhagavad Gita first and the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali and all of these texts, and I really enjoyed them. I gained a lot from them, and it was always bringing me closer to where I am now. And then at some point I went into a meditation retreat, 10-day Vipassana, Goenka style, very, very normal. It's getting quite big nowadays in the Western world. And I remember day 6 or halfway through the retreat, I was sitting on my bed and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I could be happy just doing nothing. That was a complete revelation for me. That had never happened to me before. And I just remember looking at the light coming through the window and I didn't want to do anything else. I was just in this so happy. And my mind was calm, was peaceful. I never experienced that. When you don't know what a peaceful mind is, there's no way you can tell that it's better because you don't have that reference point. You're just lost in your mind. That's what it was for me. So from that point on, I had a very clear perspective on what that could be like now. And then I decided there, I was like, yes, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been looking for to do with my life. That's what I want to do. Now it was still a few years for me to really understand what that means, to take that path fully and discover. I was still trying many different traditions, spirituality. And then I came upon the Buddha Vajana. And I first read the Dhammapada, suggested by one of my friends. And that was the second big impression in my life. So when I started reading the Buddha, because I had read about so many other scriptures before, and I read the Buddha, and then I thought, this is it. This is the path. So yeah, I was very impressed by the wisdom of the Buddha. Very, very impressed. Yes, yes. How can you be faster or more efficient at finding out? Yeah. Well, that's why I talked about awareness of the body in the first place, because that will tell you right away. Right away, like a lightning bolt. As soon as your mental state is in a akusala dhamma, then it will show up in your body instantly. It's hard to use only the mind to tell, because the mind is it's insubstantial. It's very hard to, when you're only trying to look at mind, it's very hard to tell because when we get angry, we're not mindful anymore. So that's the problem. We're lost in that storyline. We're lost in the whatever, the anxiety. We're lost in that kind of mind state. But the body will tell you if you're in that in an unwholesome mind state. The other thing is with the loving kindness, with the Mettā Bhavana, the power of Mettā Bhavana, because my teacher and I am too an advocate of Mettā Bhavana. It's very, very, I know in Sri Lanka it's considered as a beginning practice, but I think it's a very powerful practice, and it's very advanced also. It can be very advanced. The power of Mettā Bhavana is that once you start accumulating it and making more of it, every time your mind goes to like an unwholesome state, like anger, it will be so different. And then you can also tell a lot easier. Whereas if there's no metta, if there's no karuna, or if there's no, then that switch is much more subtle. It's much harder to catch. But when we practice loving kindness, it's such a big contrast between anger and loving kindness that it's easy to see. It's very easy to see. So it makes paññā a lot more tangible. It makes it very clear. So that's another trick. And that's why the smiling sounds a bit ridiculous, but it's actually also very powerful, exactly for the same reason. My teacher would say, every time your smile is gone in the meditation, you can be sure that you're distracted. Because the mind is starting to take itself very seriously and run the storyline. And then the smile is gone. So that's other ways you can tell very quickly.
Beginning, initially what we should start.
Yes, I think just as much as you can, turning everything into an object of Mettā Bhavana. Everything that you do is, it helps you experience. The most important thing is for you to feel that feeling. Because once you have it, once you feel that feeling, it's already radiant. It's already shining. And so from there, you don't need to do much. If it's there, it's there. That's the beauty of it. So, and anything that comes up, it comes up kind of only to diminish it. So you just relax, let go. Just simple, very simple. And that goes very far, actually. That goes very far. It's a protection.
Once you practice it, then you won't see other fault or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
when you're continuously practicing that,
Yes.
you won't find other
Yes.
people fault.
It doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Because once you get used to metta, then you know where happiness is. You know that this is it. Ekatamai. So this is the way. And why would you get angry? Why would you, react to this or that when, it's so much better to let it go? Actually, it sounds, metta is just such a beautiful and powerful practice, because the paññā becomes much, much, much sharper because of metta. So all of these wholesome states and unwholesome states, it becomes very clear. And whatever will happen to you will come up. It's like, why would you try to find fault with someone? Why? It's not going to change anything. But your metta might actually change them, show them the way. For example, my family, they were not very happy at the beginning that I was becoming a monk. Obviously, I think it's kind of normal in a lot of families, but slowly they warmed up to it. And now that they see what I'm doing, they see that I'm very happy, much more happy than I ever was, and I'm very peaceful, I'm living a very fulfilled life, and it's actually starting to imprint on them too. Actually, because when people see other people happy, they want to be happy too. So they want to know, hey, what are you doing? So it becomes contagious. The best, I like this coronavirus, the coronavirus. So it's the wholesome contagion. It changes everything. It turns the whole boat around. And because you're not finding fault with others, then they're not going to find faults with you. And it's going to establish a very different relationship with other people. So that's, yeah. So, as it is a tradition to share merits and rejoice in the merits that were done, so let's rejoice in all the merits by the chairman of the Bank of Ceylon, the board of directors, the general manager, Mr. Russell Fonseca, and wishing the entire staff, including the corporate executive management, long and healthy life to all of you. Bank of Ceylon's information technology, the IT division, which is the main contributor to this Dhamma Deshanaya, for their long and healthy life and prosperity. To all the customers, to the retired staff of the Bank of Ceylon, the veterans, and to all those who listen to the sermon. Let's pray to all the relatives who passed away in that name, to pray the physical and mental illness of all those who are still alive and to be healthy, to understand the fourfold truths in a very early life, and to pray that this Dharma donation will be successful. And so, Bohoma being Sidhuewa, may they all be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.